So the latest thing, or the thing we're moving on to, is fairing the deck, the last half of the deck. Now that the deck beams are glued in and in place, we can start bringing it down to the shear line using electric plane, belt sanders, hand plane in the end. It's pretty fair right now, it's fairly good, we haven't had to do too much. The last 2 metres or so, a metre or so, we might leave for a bit because we're still not sure how to fit our gas bottles and in the lazarette, in the aft lazarette, and how the lockers, are going to go and how that's all going to work. So for now, we're just going to move back to that and get some deck down, get her covered up and looking a bit better again. We had one comment amongst many. One in particular that someone was insistent that we had to dovetail our deck beams, half dovetail. That is incorrect. We don't need to do that because we are cold moulded. We're not traditionally built. So a cold moulded epoxy strip plank boat, what we're doing is laying 2 layers of plywood over the deck and fiberglass. The plywood acts as a brace. That is fastened, screwed and glued, bedded with epoxy from all the planks, the planking on the side, to the carlins, to the deck beams. Everything is sort of braced together and it brings it all together. So there's no spreading, it can't spread, it can't move when it's fastened down like that. Half dovetailing deck beams is when you have a traditional laid deck and there's movement because you don't have that acrossways strength, because the deck planks can spread. But when you have a plywood deck, it cannot spread because it is fastened at every point of the deck structure. So once we get the layers of plywood on, we'll then fiberglass right over the whole hull, which creates strength again, and then lay an overlay of celery top planking. So it'll look traditional, but it'll be very strong in the end. The celery top will help with a lot of fore and aft strength. Obviously, with the planks laying fore and aft, probably we won't screw them in, they'll just be bedded and pinned down until the glue cures, and then there's no fastenings through the deck beams and through the deck, which allows for water ingress. So for now we're just going to push on with fairing the deck, laying a few sheets of plywood on, and we'll see how we go. Hey guys, so just to touch on the rudder briefly, we've had a lot of comments and feedback, mostly positive, but we've had a few people that are not happy with the design of the rudder. This rudder is designed by Paul Gartside. He is a renowned designer, he's reputable and he's good. So we are going to fully 100% trust him on the rudder design, shape and size. We've lofted it, the rudder from the loft table, so it's accurate, it's exactly the same as what he has in the plans. So just to reassure you all that we will still be able to steer Tarkine and the rudder will be sufficient enough to move her around. If at some point down the track we find that it's not sufficient, then hey, we're boat builders. We can modify it and we can make it bigger if we need to. I'm not afraid of doing something like that. But for now we're sticking to the plan and what he's designed, and we'll move from there and see how she goes. This hole where the rudder stock passes through, it doesn't take any load. It's more for aesthetics. I didn't want to stare at us, have a stainless steel shaft out there and I could see it all the time when I'm rowing up to my boat. So the idea of this tube that I've inserted in the rudder is to just hide the shaft. It'll be tapered down, so it'll go through this, which is on the hull, up higher, and that will be able to spin freely in there, probably with some sort of washer or bearing in there of the Vesconite high lube, which is this white stuff here. Then this rather large casting will have a keyway in it. So this will get milled down, this rudder stock, and a square keyway will go into this bronze, come out and probably have a nut, a bronze nut on the bottom, and most likely a pin through it, so that when you want to dismantle this rudder, you undo the nut, drill out the pin, pop the rudder stock up. This is the only way we could work it out without having a transom hung rudder, with how we want it to work, and to be able to remove the rudder if you have to. Excuse the sniffs, I'm a little bit sick. This is the base plate that goes on the keel. Have a pin where it goes into the bottom of the rudder here, and we'll be able to slide that off. At least that's the plan thus far. Same thing here, I suspect we'll have a pin that drops through and is locked off, so then you can remove this pin and slide the whole rudder out if you have to. So they are a couple of the concerns that we've had, and we appreciate people's worries, but it's under control and we're confident in the way we're building the rudder and Tarkine herself. But thanks for the feedback anyway. Yeah, that edge will be sort of flush with the Carlin even, so it can go out a bit more. That might be a quick bit one as well.
our friend Donna made this for me, which will be the drain for the big Huon pine sink. It's a bit of a brass little drain with a copper pipe that he welded onto it, and he cleaned it up for me. And it used to be square and he's rounded it up, so I'm really happy with this. And I'm going to try and drill down into my bowl and then drop this one in so we can think about how to plumb it next and how to install it. So I've got this hole saw to make the hole to go up to here, and then I've got this bigger one that will do this brass bit that's a bit wider, and then the last bit, the circle where it will bed into the sink, I might do by hand or use a router. But I'm just going to do a bit of practice and drill into the bit of plywood first to see if this will actually sit in. And I'm using a drill press because I want it to go straight down, and I'm going to have more luck going straight with the drill press than by hand. So I'll just have to set that up. So that's a test hole. And that's pretty good. That'll be fine. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's...
Well, I thought when I think I did line this up roughly. No.
Oh yeah. That's the thing.
And then we want it as central as possible, and I don't think we can go off. Like the grain also throws you out because it's slightly...
Yeah, because this line it would be in more, but
I think we just have to eyeball it. Did that way.
yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just an odd shape to try and find a middle.
yeah. Go from the other end, but from the bottom we could run a drill bit through.
Oh yeah. You reckon you can... The bottom is also pretty much just like hand.
Yeah, it's all pretty organic, so
I feel like that looks alright. How try enough are we going to be if it's not in the middle?
doesn't work. I think it'd be alright. Pretty close, I think.
Yeah. And forward this way, I think.
Yeah,
Are we,
okay.
do we need to go that way?
I can't see you heading there. Yeah, I think you're pretty close. I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah.
Go for it.
We'll see what happens.
So most of the deck is down, dry fitted. We've marked the underside of all the deck where the deck beams are, so that we don't paint where a deck beam goes, but we epoxy there, and then it's epoxy to epoxy adhesion, and it's nice and strong. And we also mark where we want to run our grooves for the grooving, for the panel work look in the underneath of the plywood. So now the task is to remove all the dry fitted deck. We'll take it downstairs, lay it out, mark it for our panelling, for our grooving, mark all the deck beams, tape everything up, and then clean the inside of the boat where we've made a mess from fairing the deck and everything, and prep all the beam shelf deck beams, give them all one last coat of paint, and paint the tops of the deck beams and hull planking with epoxy to seal that, and then we'll roughen it up so that once again it creates good adhesion.